Yeah, I mean you can make that. That'd be a good angle. But any haunted location that has those experiences, like I probably would be a skeptic as well. If it wasn't for the fact that I actually, spent so much time in haunted locations all the time at night, and stuff has happened, like the Custom House. I know we keep, beating this dead horse over and over again on this podcast, but it is one of the most haunted locations I know I've dealt with. I'm sure one of the most you've dealt with, Ian, over the years.
I'm so upset I missed that. So upset.
Fingers crossed, sir. One day, maybe. But the things that happen in there, and I won't repeat too much, but you could not explain it away to the point that I could almost guarantee something was occurring. I'm going to bring this conversation back to the Ouija board again and say that probably the most extreme experience I ever had was with a Ouija board in that building. And, it was just a 2-month span a few years back where the building turned heavy. So we'd go in and it felt strange, it felt unnatural, and you felt anxious in there. And this was like when I'd set up by myself at the beginning, and I'd break down at night by myself, like going up in the attic and everything, and it just felt weird. So that built up over some time, and then during a couple of the seances, we had an issue where young girls between the age of 16 and 21 started getting possessed. Not possession like you would see. I mentioned this before. It's more like an outside energy trying to control, and they couldn't move, and eventually it would just pass. So this escalated to the point that we were using the Ouija board to try and communicate with who was causing this, who claimed to be the main spirit, the Dark Lady, and we find out she was angry about the poem. People have heard this story many times before, but we stopped telling the poem. And it was almost like the air lifted.
I think that hit the newspaper as well, too.
It did?
I think it did.
Hey, you might be right, actually. Totally forgot about that. Yeah. Good, so we made more believers. But some might claim the Ouija board brought that in because we did seances every time we either began or ended the night with a seance and used the Ouija board. But I actually think it was already there, and the Ouija board just exposed it, and as well led us to a solution.
Well, maybe not just the Ouija board, but there's a theory that I've had that you're bringing people in there all the time. Like 40 people a tour, and on the ghost walks, on the ghost hunts. You're supplying energy for the spirit energies to feed off of, which is one theory that I have as to why everything ramped up so much.
Yeah, we were looking for them too.
Suddenly, all these people are around the building, and the spirit energies are going, whoa, yeah, something to feed off of.
What do you think about this? This is something I just remembered now. Before I got into the paranormal, I had very few experiences. And after I got into the paranormal, when we were doing the actual investigations, it ramped up like you wouldn't believe. Especially when we were about to go into haunted locations. Whatever was in the building, we would know it was legit because it would visit us at our home the night before we went in. And I don't know if you and Trudy are experiencing this, but it seems when you're focused on it and looking for it, that's when stuff tends to happen.
Well, that's exactly it, is that now we're looking for it.
But not actually in the location where it's like, I really need to see a ghost bad, but in the idea that you've opened yourself up to that world, it's almost like you've invited it in.
Exactly.
Really?
Yeah.
Any examples of that happened to you guys?
Well, at home, and again, not to beat the custom host stories to death here, but we had 2 spirits from the custom house come home with us once the tours ended and the current owners of the building shut everything off. We got little David, the child spirit, and surprisingly, the main one is one of the 15 men from the collapsed tunnel in the basement, and I'm still trying to figure that one out. But we know why little David came home with us. Trudy reminds him of his mother.
How'd you find that out?
Direct communication.
What tool did you use?
It's been a slowly accumulating process over the years that
Really?
that we did investigations at the custom house. And finally we got a little piece here, a little piece here, and started to put it all together. And then it was the final direct communication that she had with him that one night on the Ouija board, and we were able to just ask a direct question. You know, we've heard all this information coming through different devices, seen it, you know, and he's like, yeah, he calls her mum, and
Really?
yeah, but yeah, Jim, who's the gentleman from the collapsed tunnel, we're still trying to figure out why he decided to attach himself and come home with us.
Are those energies still there?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yeah.
So you just kind of like communicate with them every now and then?
Yeah, yeah, they'll make themselves known. That electronics will go crazy, TV will turn on and off by itself, channels will change. The most profound we had a book come flying off the bookshelf from halfway across the room.
Wow.
And so we immediately run and grab our equipment. And normally we don't investigate our own home, but we grabbed all the equipment, set it up, and yeah, it's Jim, and he's just saying, you know, hey, I'm here. Just wanted to let you guys know I'm here to say hi. And yeah, it's intriguing.
It's interesting. And you know what? There's probably a bunch of people listening right now saying, like shaking their head and going, oh, that's not possible. And thinking that, you know, but for you, it's a real experience.
Yes, it is.
And I mentioned on previous podcasts that I've talked to the most normal people in the world, and they start talking about the ghost in their house like it's their family member or pet, and just like a normal occurrence, and that's just how life is.
Yeah. Well, you know, some of this stuff, you know, the skeptics out there, that's fine if you choose not to believe it. And I understand that some of this stuff you need to experience for yourself in order to believe.
Yeah.
When it happens to you. Yeah.
Yeah, and I can understand if, like we've talked about orb photos as well, and I can understand if, like, you know, somebody sends you an orb photo and it's just a circle, and they're like, it's a dude with a top hat and he's waving and he's holding an iPod or something and listening to his music, you know, and then you're like, okay, this is a little over the top, it's crazy. Or there was somebody who used to tell us that a ghost used to do their dishes. So they would leave their house and they would come back and all the dishes were clean, and it was the ghost doing the dishes. Yeah, and I was like, okay, no, you're making things worse. You know. But then somebody like you comes along, you're a very logical person. You're not over the top. The experiences you had have been very subtle but powerful. And, you know, if they transferred that ideal onto the ghost shows, it would definitely make things more legit. But would it be entertaining is the question.
Probably not.
But, you know, the BuzzFeed Unsolved, Aiden, does that do well?
Well, here's my hope for it. It does pretty well, it seems, with a young demographic. And I'm hoping that kind of reinstills an interest and respect in both the history and ghosts, and shows that it doesn't need to be sensationalist all the time. But that's just, you know, it's all on YouTube, the entire series, and it gets millions of views.
I'm going to look it up.
Yeah,
somebody
it's really
sent me a link once for one of them. I forget it wasn't Canadian, like you said, but it was something close by. Yeah, I'm gonna look that up.
What's the name of it?
BuzzFeed Unsolved.
Oh,
so they'll do a season of supernatural, paranormal, and they'll do a season of true crime, which is just as interesting. But yeah, I love the supernatural ones.
Yeah, that's you just gave them a free plug. Hopefully, they give you a little bit of royalties for that.
Yeah, there's a lot on YouTube now of ghost investigations, which I find pretty interesting.
Any recommendations for people? As we wrap things up,
I don't recall the actual names of them, but I mean, one of the things I did is I went on there and looked for there was this the Castle Ghost series, which I really enjoyed watching. Learning about the ghosts of certain castles in England, Ireland, Wales, Scotland. I think one of them that caught my attention was Lep Castle, which is known to be very haunted, and plus also it's home to an elemental spirit.
An elemental is, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's something that wasn't human, right?
Yeah, it's something that
Like some kind of buildup of energy that...
it's a buildup of energy. They describe this elemental as looking like almost like a sheep with human features on it. Horrible smell from it as well, like rotting corpses. But there's a few there's a few channels on YouTube where people have gone to do investigations on it. I know Most Haunted was there and did an episode on Lep Castle, but I think there was an American group that went there as well, and they got quite a bit of activity.
Different type of energy over there for sure, because their history is so much more robust than our little tiny baby of a country here in Canada. We don't have the same type of history.
Brutal history, I mean.
And brutal history as well, right? Like the Tower of London, for example.
Because I mean, the castles were not, like fairy tale, places. I mean, these were, brutal places where people were tortured, or in the case of Lep Castle, people were thrown down into the oubliette, and I believe in the opening at the base there were, metal prongs down there. So if you were lucky to survive from that, then you're just, stuck in this oubliette with no way to get out.
Some of the freakiest stuff you'll ever see is like the way they tortured people, especially in medieval times over there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like they took that to a whole new level. But we need to wrap up the podcast here. But I want to just kind of go around the table. Any final thoughts about the original topic we've so far gotten away from? Ian, any thoughts about the Ouija?
No, I think we've discussed it all pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Nice, Aiden. Anything?
I think just show it the respect that it deserves. Remember, it's a tool, not a game.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and we're not in no way are we telling people not to use it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Utilize it. It can be a very useful communication tool, and it might turn you into a believer.
In fact, didn't somebody write a book about how to properly use the Ouija board?
There's a few of them out there. I wrote a booklet.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. Years ago I wrote a booklet and just put it on Amazon, and there's an article how to safely use the Ouija board. If anybody wants to, selfless plug. But any last thoughts?
Yeah, my opinion is the same with Aiden. I mean, take it seriously. Use that as a tool. Make sure you're protected.
Well, that's another aspect we didn't really even get into, the idea of surrounding yourself with white light and spiritually protected.
But other than that, don't treat it as a game. Don't treat it as a joke.
Yep. Yeah. So there's the final hashing of those rules, right?
Yeah.
And don't treat it as a game. It's a serious tool. Always say goodbye to close the session, even if it's just to make yourself feel better, and never use it in your home. And if anybody asks, well, if I can't use it in my home, where can I use it? I always tell people, just even go
someone
to
else's
the field,
place.
Go to the friend that you didn't really like, and use it at their place. And I tell people too, if it's not against the law in your town or city, cemeteries, because cemeteries, from our point of view, have some of the least amount of spiritual energy, because everybody who's interred in it, their energy is already gone. Mm-hmm. Some of the calmest places. So if you actually get something, it's almost like you're setting up a lab. There's no germs. It's they're going to get some real stuff there.
Unless if you go to the Drummond Hill Cemetery.
That's different. You're
yes.
right. Yes, again, another podcast.
Yeah.
But anyway, thank you so much, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Take care, everybody.